guessing that most of us in this room today are well aware that Oregon has an ocean in its backyard, and that we as Oregonians are the stewards of these waters. However, there are plenty of Oregonians who aren't as attuned to the fact that the ocean is a part of our state. And so we have a real opportunity here to be using marine reserves as vehicles for raising awareness and bringing to people's attention that Oregon doesn't stop at the beach. By showcasing what's under the water in these marine reserve sites and showcasing the research that's being done, we're going to be able to help raise awareness about Oregon's nearshore ocean environment as well as ocean science. I work for the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife, and it's the Marine Reserves Program. Our agency is tasked with the management and scientific monitoring of Oregon's marine reserves. We share management responsibilities for the marine reserves with Oregon State Parks, the Department of State Lands, and the Oregon State Police's Fish and Wildlife Division. And then we are very fortunate to be working with a whole group of partners. These are folks who are going well above and beyond the work that ODFW is capable of doing. So they're providing additional information to the public about Oregon's marine reserves. They're creating opportunities or connecting people to opportunities to get involved. And in a lot of instances, they're collaborating with us on scientific research. That's both ecological research as well as studying the human dimensions of the marine reserves. To start our marine reserves tour, I wanted to start at the 30,000-foot level. So these are the 5 sites up and down the Oregon coast. So the marine reserve prohibits all take of animals and seaweeds and also prohibits all ocean development. Now, next to the marine reserves are marine protected areas, also known as MPAs. So the MPAs still prohibit ocean development, but they do allow some fishing activities. And which fishing activities are or aren't allowed is very specific to each MPA. The designation of these 5 sites was over 10 years in the making and involved a very extensive public process. And that process included communities, local coastal communities, working with state officials to place these sites in areas that would provide ecological benefits while also minimizing, or at least trying to minimize, negative impacts to ocean users and coastal communities. Oregon created marine reserves in order to conserve marine habitats and biodiversity. That's the intended goal of these 5 sites. They also serve as living laboratories where we're learning about Oregon's nearshore ocean environment and also learning about marine reserve protections, that is, no fishing and conservation, and what effects those have on the nearshore ocean environment here in Oregon over time. Now, each of Oregon's marine reserve sites is unique. They're different sizes, they're different shapes, they have different habitats and biological characteristics. They experience different types and levels of fishing prior to their closure. And the towns and communities that are most closely tied to each of these sites have very different demographics. So this means we're very likely going to see different conservation outcomes and different effects to people and communities at each of these sites. When we go to visit these sites, most of us, what we're seeing is what's on land either next to the reserve or maybe something that's at the surface or above the water at the reserve, but we're not actually seeing what's in the reserve and what's being protected, because that's underwater. So part of what our program is really interested in, and a lot of our partners are also interested in, is showing people what is in these reserves, what is actually being protected. So the Marine Reserve at Cape Falcon is 12.4 square miles, and there are 2 marine protected areas. There's this west marine protected area, and then there's this shoreside marine protected area. And those encompass another 7.6 square miles.
I've been working on marine reserves issues for probably close to 15 years. I came to realize that though we had this incredible state park on the shores of our ocean, that the ocean itself was not protected in the same way, and we had an opportunity to do that through marine reserves. A marine reserve really is a park in the ocean, so you can think about what you appreciate about your neighborhood park or a park like Oswald West and extend that into the ocean environment. Marine reserves are incredibly important in terms of conserving our biodiversity, our wildlife and plant species that live in the ocean. And they're also really important for humans in terms of understanding our ocean. They're really living laboratories. We're also engaging people and partnering with local volunteers to do projects on the shores in Oswald West State Park to protect water quality and wildlife habitat. People are getting really excited to really make sure that both the land and the sea are connected and healthy. Our goal is to get people to understand what a marine reserve is and what it means to have a marine reserve at Cape Falcon right off Oswald West State Park. Two things that we can all do is share with our friends and family the importance of Oswald West State Park and the Cape Falcon Marine Reserve, as well as when we visit to tread lightly and take care of this really special place.
Cascade Head Marine Reserve. The Marine Reserve is 9.6 square miles, and the site includes 3 marine protected areas, which encompasses another 23.1 square miles.
The Oregon coast is a diverse and special place, with miles of ocean beaches, rocky headlands, offshore islands, and estuaries located on coastal rivers. Along the central coast, Cascade Head emerges as a prominent headland rising above the Salmon River estuary and capped by native grasslands. Adjacent to and offshore of the headland is the second largest marine reserve in Oregon, the Cascade Head Marine Reserve and Marine Protected Area. The site is managed by the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife and helps complete a broader conservation strategy that includes the Nature Conservancy's Cascade Head Preserve and the Salmon River Estuary, managed by the U.S. Forest Service. An estuary is a dynamic place where freshwater and saltwater mix and is one of the most productive ecosystems on Earth. It is a location where many species come to breed, to forage, and to grow. The Salmon River Estuary provides critical nursery habitats that support some of the species found in the Cascade Head Marine Reserve. The prominent headland was designated as the Cascade Head Scenic Research Area by Congress in 1974 and has also been recognized as a biosphere reserve by the United Nations. With the recent designation of the Marine Reserve, the site now represents a complete coastal landscape, joining critical habitat for land-sea connectivity and protection. Within the Marine Reserve and protected areas, ocean life abounds in diverse habitats. The site includes Silet's Reef, the largest nearshore reef in Oregon's coastal waters and home to commercially and recreationally important rockfish species. The site also includes a wealth of rocky intertidal habitats, where animals and plants attach themselves firmly to rocks and thrive in the high energy and constantly changing environment. The offshore rocks and islands provide habitat for numerous seabirds that travel thousands of miles from wintering grounds around the world to take advantage of abundant foraging opportunities and breeding habitat in the spring and summer. Participating in stewardship activities at Cascade Head for years, the public can now join in the science and stewardship of the newly designated Marine Reserve through participating in activities such as shoreline monitoring, water quality testing, or public outreaching and awareness. Cascade Head is a special place, and that's why Oregonians have protected it. It's a place that exemplifies how the land and sea are truly connected and an Oregon treasure to be appreciated and enjoyed by future generations.
So here we are, the Otter Rock Marine Reserve. There's this amazing rocky intertidal area on the north portion of the site. It actually extends all the way up to Cape Gallweather, this nice rocky intertidal area. This is Oregon's smallest marine reserve. It is 1.2 square miles, and there are no marine protected areas next to this particular reserve.
Otter Rock Marine Reserve is located just north of Newport. It's the smallest of Oregon's marine reserves, covering just 1.2 square miles. The intended goal of marine reserves in Oregon are to protect species, habitats, and biodiversity in Oregon's nearshore waters, and serve as living laboratories for us to learn more about these dynamic nearshore environments. We use Otter Rock as a testing site for evaluating new tools to sample these marine communities. We'll be putting out moorings just adjacent to Otter Rock Marine Reserve to sample larval fish that are recruiting into this nearshore habitat. We have a diverse array of nearshore habitats, including dynamic rocky reefs, sandy bottom, and seagrass meadows.
Is that little purple thing up there?
Yeah, this is a sea star. This is sea star. Here's another sea star over here. Once you see one, you see them all. Here's another one in here. That we do as coast watchers is to make observations of what we find on the beach, and today we're actually looking for sites to survey for sea star recruitment. We normally find the sea stars in nice crevices where there are mussels and barnacles, especially some small barnacles for the baby sea stars to eat. And what we're trying to do is measure those sea stars and look for recruitment to make sure that they're not getting sea star wasting disease and that they're continuing to grow. When you're looking in the tide pools at Otter Rock, you will see different types of snails. You'll see the different kinds of chitons, the gumboot chitons and things like that, the urchins. Those are all grazers that are animals that are feeding on that algae.
Here we are at Cape Perpetua. The marine reserve is 14.1 square miles. It's the largest marine reserve. It has 3 marine protected areas, which encompass another 41 square miles. The rocky shores within the marine reserve have some of the most biologically diverse rocky intertidal areas in the entire Pacific Northwest. So these are biological hotspots. So this is a really unique feature of this site. This is a unique, deeper water rocky reef, and it's very isolated. There is no rock habitat. There is no other rocky reefs anywhere near here. So this makes this very unique, and it makes this particular reef actually very high in diversity. Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife has been studying this reef for quite a while, along with Oregon State University, because this area also tends to experience hypoxia episodes. So that's low oxygen events, which is again a very unique feature of this site.
Modified species relationships out there as a result of what we've done for 100+ years. We've got to create, protect, in many cases restore habitat. Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve is located north Yachats, all the way past Cedar Head, which is just north of Florence. In the south, we have the Sea Lion Caves. It's the largest sea cave in the Americas. And it's home to stellar sea lions. But there's a number of other marine mammals that use this nearshore habitat, including harbor seals, and then we'll see gray whales, pigeon guillemots, as well as common mirrors, and of course the marbled murrelet, that elusive seabird that lives on the ocean but nests in the old-growth habitat. So it's one that is an incredible story about this little seabird, about the size of a robin, that has to go down and catch its forage fish, that's like sardines, anchovies, herring, things like that. It can go down to 200 feet, pop to the surface, and then has to go into the forest. It flies like 50 miles an hour. So it's a totally unique life history. And they nest in the upper canopy. They don't build a nest. It's basically on the moss of these ancient forest trees. They make a little nest cup and one egg. So it's a really unique life history. And this area has been identified as one of the most significant areas for the marbled murrelet. So we have a number of projects around Cape Perpetua. Sea star wasting, seabird monitoring, water quality monitoring. It's a great opportunity for citizens to engage. We realize that this is going on all over the world. Conservation areas in the ocean, conservation areas in the uplands. It's just by chance for us, we've got one that links a large landscape, 100,000 acre block of uplands, connects to a nearshore conservation strategy, the Cape Perpetua Marine Reserve, Marine Protected Area.
This is the Redfish Rocks Reef. This reef is great habitat for a large variety of groundfish species, including many rockfish species like China rockfish, vermilion rockfish, and black rockfish. Other groundfish species such as lingcod, cabezon, kelp greenling, red Irish lords, wolf eels. You also will find many forms of invertebrates in this area, including sea urchins, nudibranchs, and crabs.
Redfish Rocks, the most southern Oregon Marine Reserve site, is located just offshore from the small fishing community of Port Orford and is easily identified by its 5 iconic sea stacks. This protected area is ecologically and socially significant because of the habitats provided to native fish and wildlife, its scenic beauty, and historical connection to the local community. This marine reserve, a no-take zone, is small, just 2.6 square miles in size. It also has an associated marine protected area for groundfish and other marine animals. Though small, this area is rich in habitats and is host to kelp forest, rocky reefs, and sandy bottom. These habitats provide home to many marine animals, including many species of rockfish. Redfish Rocks gets its name from the several species of red-colored rockfish that are found here.
There's a lot of different rockfish we'll see out here, but it's famous for the redfish, the vermilion, the yellow eye. Those are the ones that I think the guys used to target the most before it was a reserve. So that's part of the reason that they picked this spot, is because they'd like to see those fish come back. Rockfish are really unique because not only do they give birth to live young, which is kind of rare for fish, but they live to be really old. And some of these rockfish, like the rough eye, can live close to 200 years old. And some of the fish that they're getting here in Port Orford can range from 50 to 120 years old. So it's really important to have places where we're not catching these fish, because as they get older, they produce more young, exponentially more as they get older. So that's really important to have a place where we're not killing them.
Scientists are conducting research to learn more about the animals that thrive in this biologically diverse ecosystem. Learning more about fish species, population sizes, and their movements in and out of the marine reserve are a high priority. Using a technique known as acoustic telemetry, researchers are tracking the movement of adult fishes to learn how much time they spend in the protected marine reserve. Larval or baby rockfish are carried away in ocean currents. Researchers track these currents and the larval fish carried by them to learn how these fish are dispersing to surrounding habitats. Using Smurfs, standardized monitoring units for the recruitment of fishes, or baby fish traps, researchers capture juvenile fish to learn which species and how many individuals are using the marine reserve at this early stage in their life cycle. Together, these efforts are deepening our understanding of the lives of the fishes of Redfish Rocks.
My name is Christian Aiello. I've lived here in Port Orford since 1978. Been a commercial fisherman the whole time. We've always felt it was important to involve ourselves in how we managed those resources. For me, it was basically commercial fishing as it related to, from both the state and the federal level, the new mandate from the Magnet-Stevens Act. So it brought us all into this kind of a group where we had to focus on getting it right in terms of managing these resources. Well, I'd like to break it down into that kind of perspective, 10, 15, 20 years. Within 10 years, that's the minimum you need even to develop baseline data. And from that point forward, 15 and 20 years, even 30 years, we have to keep the commitment up in terms of financing and gathering of that data. And then we can start making decisions and managing with what the resources is actually telling us.
The Redfish Rocks community team is an organized group of stakeholders with interest in stewardship of natural resources, the fishing community, and land-sea connection. The team is engaged in the integration of the Redfish Rocks Marine Reserve and the local community with the goal of strengthening the long-term health of both. The community team works with Oregon State University, ODFW, and other agency and institutional partners to support research, education, and recreational opportunities at the reserve. Other members of the community team are involved in providing citizen science opportunities such as water quality monitoring, marine debris monitoring surveys, and other hands-on stewardship activities, helping connect the individuals in this community to this important resource. The story of Redfish Rocks continues to unfold, both in the sea and on land. The long-term success of Redfish Rocks Marine Reserve ultimately depends on the investment in research and monitoring activities, as well as the engagement of the local community, building both a stewardship ethic and economy around this special place.